And when you try to coach people or put in a new system to help them manage their time better, what do you hear? Well, it's Big Brother. It's micromanagement. Why do I need a babysitter? We're all professionals here, right? Leave me alone. Let me do my job. And that's the exact reason, just like Major League Baseball did, that you need to institute new rules and new regulations. Human beings are remarkably adaptable. Processes and cultures are not.
Put that coffee down.
Creators are leaders. Be careful what kind of leaders you're producing here.
Helen, we're both in sales.
Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman.
They realized that to be in power, you didn't need guns or money or even numbers. You just needed the will to do what the other guy wouldn't.
I'm not leaving. The show goes on.
Well, hello there, friend. Welcome back to the Construction Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Bradley Hartman. On this show, we bring you ideas and insights from across the construction industry every single week to help you lead more effectively. This episode is brought to you by the Simple Sales Pipeline. You can take any sales professional, any business development manager, and in under 30 minutes or less, organize and value their pipeline. So you are not flying blind into the future, simply hoping what comes in the future will look like the past, because it probably will not. We are heading into some uncertainty in terms of the economy, so get confident in what you've got. And if you don't like the future, you can go about changing it. Learn more at thesimpleSalesPipeline.com. Now, you may have heard that in Major League Baseball, they've been making some changes. There are some new rules in baseball designed to speed the game up, and the players, predictably, don't like it. Some of these responses from Major League Baseball players may sound familiar to you when you enact some change management in your organization. Players have said it feels like Big Brother. It's micromanagement. They're wondering why they're being babysat. They're saying, hey man, we're professionals. Just leave me alone. Let me do my job. And what are these rules exactly? Well, the pitcher has 15 seconds to make a pitch when there are not runners on base, and 20 seconds if there are. Batters are limited to one timeout per plate appearance, and there's a maximum of 30 seconds in between hitters. The logical question here is why? Why are these changes necessary? I mean, baseball, it's America's pastime, isn't it? No, it's not. You're not America's pastime anymore. The National Football League took that mantle a long, long time ago. Major League Baseball, your product is getting worse. That's the truth from your customers. There are too many strikeouts and the games are way too long. In 1980, the average length of a game was 2 hours and 33 minutes. A decade later, in 1990, it was creeping up to 2 hours and 47 minutes. By 2000, it's another 10 minutes to 2 hours and 57 minutes. It actually goes down slightly by 2010 to 250. And then in 2020, in current day, the games are over 3 hours to 3 hours and 3 minutes on average. So the games are getting longer, and over the last 2 decades, runs have been going down. So less action, less scoring, longer games. That's a recipe to lose the mantle of America's pastime. So less action, less scoring, longer games. Now I know what you're thinking. You want to dig into the math. You want to figure out exactly how much time are we losing as spectators and attendees of Major League Baseball? Obviously. So am I. So let's look at the math. So at the end of last year, the games were averaging 3 hours and 3 minutes. Now with the new rules instituted in spring training, the games are down to 2 hours and 39 minutes. That's a total of 24 minutes, but let's back it down to an even 20 minutes. So let's say these new rules save 20 minutes per game. What's the math look like? Well, every year there are 2,430 regular season games, and last year the attendance at these games was 64.5 million attendees. So we're going to take that 64.5 million attendees and we're going to save them each 20 minutes. That, my friend, is 1.29 billion minutes saved. That's 21.5 million hours saved, more than 895,000 days, nearly 128,000 weeks, nearly 30,000 months, for a total of 2,454 years. So let that soak in for a minute. Nearly 2.5 millennia. That's what these minor changes are going to save us collectively. But I know what you're thinking. You're like, Hartman, what happens to the fans that are watching online or on TV? This 64.5 million is only the fans that show up in the ballpark. So Fox Sports and FS1 reported numbers on average of 725,000 online or TV viewers. Now, they're probably just taking the most key games, not all of them. So let's back that number down to 350,000 fans per game. So less than half. So this is a very reasonable number for the number of fans that are watching, not from the ballpark. So in that case, we're going to run the same math, and that comes to a total of 17 billion minutes saved. Said another way, that's another 32.3 millennia. 32.3 millennia. So these minor changes are going to, in one season, save humanity 35,000 millennia. And just to make sure we're clear, a millennium is 1,000 years. That's what we're talking about here. Now, there's always a cost. So what's the cost here? What are we not going to see? Well, we're going to see less people scratching themselves. We're going to see less batters re-velcroing their batting gloves 6 times in between every single pitch. We're going to see the pitcher not shake off the catcher 9 times in a row. We're not going to see endless series of pickoffs that drive everybody crazy. And we're not going to see the relief pitcher who's coming from the outfield bullpen wander in like a tourist, taking a minute and a half to walk from the outfield into the pitcher's mound while 35,000 stare at him, just waiting for him to let the game continue. The reason these changes are put in place is real simple. Baseball has been stealing my time and yours and the players. And if we say things like time, not money, is our most valuable resource, because think about it, you can always make more money. You can't make more time. Fine then, act accordingly. Here's the general principle. How you choose to use your time impacts other people. So how does this relate to construction? Well, in construction and baseball, you can use tobacco on the job. You can spit wherever you want, and you can adjust yourself relatively often without anyone really thinking much about it. So all this talk about time and where it goes and what will it cost and what are the savings had me thinking about one of the most memorable coaching experiences that I ever had. I was a young construction manager, I had about a year under my belt, and I was constantly in reactive mode. Every day was a series of fire drills. The trades were pushing me around. Confronting Chuck, our carpentry foreman, one day, I told him he was off schedule, and he looked at me and said, "Dude, you have no idea what's happening. I can't be off schedule because I'm the one who makes the schedule." And it was at this moment in my life where I was flustered, I was ineffective, I was unproductive, and I was wasting other people's time that a mentor of mine entered the picture as a new project manager. His name was Bob Horton, and he gave me some tough love. He said, "Listen, man, it's not the subs, it's not Chuck, it's you. Are you open to changing in order to improve?" Now, I was dumb, but I was coachable. I said, "I'll do whatever it takes." And he said, "All right, let's address the current state first. We need to understand, where does your time go now?" And he said, "What I'm about to suggest to you, you're probably not going to like, and you may even think about not doing it. What I want you to do is take a simple sheet of paper, and every 15 minutes for the next week, I want you to write down where your time is going. When you're done with 1 week, review it, and then call me." After 3 days of doing this throughout the week, I could already see the patterns that were wasting my time, that were causing the constant reactivity, that were causing the fire drills. So I called him and I said, "Here are some of the insights that I've gleaned, and I've only done this 3 days." And that began my improvement. In my executive coaching practice, I'm working with 2 different executives, and both of them admitted to routinely working more than 80 hours a week. So I custom built them an 80-hour plan. And if you're interested, feel free to email me directly at bradley@bradleyhartmanandco.com. Again, bradley@bradleyhartmanandco.com. I'd be happy to share it with you. And I told them the same thing that Bob Horton told me. I want you to break down into 15-minute increments where your time goes. And I know it sounds crazy, and I know you're not going to want to do it. Now, a little over a year later, I was talking to one of the executives, we'll call him Chris. And Chris said, remember when you told me to start breaking down every 15 minutes what I was doing over my 80-hour week? He goes, that changed my life. And he goes, I think some of the people that I'm working for, that I want to lead better, they should do the same thing. I said, just do for them what I did for you and Bob Horton did for me. Help them just document it, and a lot of those insights will come to them immediately. And he shook his head. He said, there's no way. These guys will never do it. They will simply laugh at me. And the sad truth is, I know that's probably the case. Right now, I'm coaching a soon-to-be executive manager, and he's resisting the evaluation of his own time. Why? He doesn't think he needs it. Why do you think this company is investing in coaching? One of his major issues is a lack of personal time management, and yet he's resisting. This is the thing that is stopping him from getting the promotion to become an executive manager. Meanwhile, we're working with sales reps in the lumber and building material industry, and these folks are resisting any sort of evaluation of their own time management system. They'd rather continue writing in the back of their hands, or bar napkins, or broken off chunks of 2x4s, and they don't want to invest the time to evaluate where their time is currently going. As in baseball, the general principle applies. How you choose to use your time impacts other people. Everybody loves to cite this book, The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. It's easy, hungry, humble, and smart. And yet, we work with people that are complacent, arrogant, and dumb when it comes to their own personal time management. So whether this is a timely message for you or someone on your team that you can forward this podcast to, here's the message. Get over yourself. Take the coaching. Accept the feedback. We all can do better. It's not about you. It's about your colleagues and your customers and your family. And it's the height of hubris to think that you cannot imagine in any world or in any scenario that you might be able to invest your time a little more wisely. I find it interesting that CEOs and top talent throughout different levels of the organization hire people to help them better manage their time, whether it's in 15-minute blocks or something else. Meanwhile, lesser talent resists even documenting where they spend their time today. It's during these times of pleading with people that I, obviously, think of the super agent, Jerry Maguire.
Jerry, talk to me. Breathe. Breathe, Jerry.
I am out here for you. You don't know what it's like to be me out here for you. It is an up at dawn, pride-swallowing siege that I will never fully tell you about, okay? God, help me. Help me, Rod. Help me. Help you. Help me. Help you. Help me. Help you.
Everybody can use a little bit of help. The world is too dynamic. Shit happens. You finally find someone to fill the open role that you've had for 6 months. That's great. But now we have to spend time to train them. So we got to slow down before we start delegating to them. Or maybe the local HVAC contractor was driving down the street and his ladder hooks the net of your basketball hoop and spins it around and smashes it. And then you have to spend 3.5 hours negotiating with them to do the right thing to replace it. All right, maybe that's a personal problem. Or maybe you got a sales guy and he quits and then he tries to recruit your best people and then he claims that you're going to get acquired by a competitor. And then you find out he's running a side business. I don't know, all sorts of things happen that you cannot predict. The world is too dynamic. And when you try to coach people or put in a new system to help them manage their time better, what do you hear? Well, it's Big Brother. It's micromanagement. Why do I need a babysitter? We're all professionals here, right? Leave me alone. Let me do my job. And that's the exact reason, just like Major League Baseball did, that you need to institute new rules and new regulations. Human beings are remarkably adaptable. Processes and cultures are not. During a famous question and answer with Steve Jobs prior to the first iPhone coming out, a reporter asked, how will users know how to type on phones when there's no buttons. He simply said, they'll learn. And a couple weeks into spring training, we're already seeing Major League Baseball players learn too. They're standing around scratching themselves less. They're adjusting the Velcro, not 6 times, only 3 times in between pitches. They're not shaking off the catcher 9 times. There's not an endless series of pickoffs. And that relief pitcher, you know what? He's jogging from the outfield bullpen to the pitcher's mound. And you know what? He should. I'd like to see a little bit of enthusiasm. And while we don't know what they are just yet, I guarantee you there will be unintended consequences. My guess is as the pitchers speed up, they're not going to hit their spots quite as often, and that's going to result in more hits. And with the outlaw of those defensive shifts where the shortstop goes and plays like right field, we take those away, there's going to be more hits. There's going to be more action. Now you may be thinking, well, Hartman, can you cite for me one example from another sport where they adjusted the timing of something and instead of bad things happening, a lot of good things happening? While it's different, yeah, I'll take a stab at it. What about these NCAA football morons that spent more than a decade saying a playoff system would never work because the cherished bowl system was perfect and made so much money? Guess what happened? They've never made so much money. There's never been more engagement and enthusiasm. It's never been better. These guys are now swimming in their pools of coins like Scrooge McDuck. If only they had done this sooner. Sometimes these changes, they seem radical in the moment, and in the rearview mirror, it's obvious. Oh yeah, of course, we should have done that a lot sooner. Now, after a few weeks of spring training, there is less griping about the clocks. But for the players that are still griping about it, I would simply say, listen, the fans don't exist to serve you. You play baseball to serve the fans. It's entertainment. You're not entitled. And for construction folks, I'd suggest something pretty similar. The company you work for, the team you work on, the subs that you engage with every day, they make you successful, not the other way around. So quit whining, quit crying.
Hey, Evelyn, can I ask you a question? You got a moment? Which team do you play for?
Well, I'm a peach.
Well, I was just wondering, because I couldn't figure out why you would throw home when we've got a 2-run lead. You let the tying run get on second, and we lost the lead because of you. Now you start using your head. That's that lump that's 3 feet above your ass. Are you crying?
No.
Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
The fact is, on the modern construction site, 45% of projects fail either cost or schedule. For mega projects, it's even worse. 100% of mega projects over the last couple of years have failed cost and schedule. Now, like baseball, for the construction folks listening, am I suggesting that maybe some small changes can result in saving 35 millennia this year? I don't know. Maybe I am. Here's what I am suggesting. Respect the clock. Respect your time and respect ours. Life is too short. Act accordingly.